Hi everyone, welcome to this new video by PrepInsta. In this video, we'll be covering everything that you need to know about the Infosys interview from A to Z. So make sure that you watch this video completely till the end and just sit tight. And all your doubts about Infosys interview will be answered. And there's a lot of confusion in people on how a CSIT student should prepare for Infosys interview and how non-CSIT students should prepare for Infosys interview. So we'll cover all of those details in detail about Infosys in this video. 95% of the people who prepared from PrepInsta, or 95% of the people who were selected in Infosys prepared from PrepInsta, so you can trust us always. So let me tell you about myself. I am Atulya. I got placed in 8 different companies on campus, so I think I know how to get placed, or I know how to help you get placed. So one of those packages was for more than 10 lakhs. I was also the Chancellor's Excellence Award, and I had cleared Infosys, hadn't joined though, and I have held about 5 lakh students get placed. Uh, Right. So this video will be covering about the pattern of the interview. How the interview will be getting conducted, what are the things that are asked, or which sections first, which sections later. The grading scheme used in an interview, and this information you will find nowhere else except in this video. So, you must be curious on how the interviewer grades you. Does he give you points out of 10, or does he give you grades, or does he rate you out of 100? On what parameters does he get to grade you, and all that information, right? So the next one is the syllabus for technical interview, and which is a little different for CSIT and non-CSIT branches. And then there is most asked questions in Infosys. So we'll cover both for technical and HR interview, right? Uh, and 53% of the people of who prepare from a website also join our Infosys preparation course at a later point in time. So first you can go ahead with the free information, or which will keep you busy for about 1 week, and then if you like, you can always join the paid Infosys course, preparation course for the written or the interview preparation. So it's up to you, right? Just try us. So let's go with the pattern. Infosys has a different pattern for different colleges. Most of the grade A colleges like NITs or VITs, or more or less, which are in the top 50s, have only have the written round, and also have just the HR round, which is technical come HR round. In that, 90% of the time they will ask you the HR questions, and only 10% of the time, 10% of the interview duration will be asked to ask you technical questions. And at times we've seen they don't even ask you technical questions in good campuses, because what Infosys has analyzed is that students from better colleges perform better in internally in different projects at Infosys. So they've to reduce down the hiring cost, they've reduced to only one interview round, and then they've clubbed together with very less focus upon the technical part. But still, in grade B and C colleges, which also have some good colleges like IP University and Amity, and there are other state colleges also, there is a written round, there is a separate technical interview round, and then there is a separate HR interview round. And the duration for the technical round is about 15 to 25 minutes, and the HR interview round is about 10 minutes. But we've seen that the most people who've got selected uh, uh, had their interview lasting a little longer. So we spoke to about different 200 different um people who gave interview off campus and on campus drives, and we've collected we've done a lot of data analysis on that. And we've realized about the people who got selected, the average duration of their interview was about 23 minutes, and the people who did not get selected, the average was about 17 minutes. And the HR interview is always about 10 minutes, more or less 10 minutes itself, right? So let's just go ahead. Okay, so what is the grading scheme, as we told you, as I told you in the video? So grading scheme, the interview will only be getting these four options. So in the he'll be filling all the details in the portal in his laptop that Infosys gives to grade you, and the drop down only allows him to choose between A, B, and C, D, right? And there is no E and F part, and I'm not sure why this is made like this, but yes, there are only four grades. And in the technical round, you will be graded in these four particular, categories, which are your English speaking skills, your coding skills, your technical skills, generally the theory questions that they ask you, and then the overall impression that the interviewer has of you. So the English speaking is very important. Even in technical round, they are judging you on English, is because you will be working for a service based company with the client being catered in different locations in Europe, North America, South America, Africa. So all the business communication happens in English, right? And it gives a very bad impression if someone who's selected and someone who's speaking to the clients in poor English over a Skype call, or he's writing bad grammar email. So which is why there's a lot of focus upon English speaking, because that cannot be taught, or that is very difficult to be taught to any particular person. Excuse me. Coding though can be taught to you in 3 or 4 months, and eventually when you will join the project, you'll be given a lot of time to understand the requirements from a technical point of view, uh, to do your work on a daily basis. So they don't mind bad coders, or they don't mind people who are not very good at coding, because coding can be taught. But yes, English should be the most focus. People who stammer, people who are not able to speak proper English at a longer period of time, are not generally selected, right? And technical skills will cover in detail later. Again, for the HR round, English speaking is there. Then there is teamwork capabilities. On that, he gives you grade A, B, C, D. Then there is cultural fit, and then there is flexibility. So we'll come to that at a later point in time. So the syllabus for interview is there now. Earlier, what used to happen, it was very open ended for the interviewer to conduct the interview. But now internally, what we've uh, you know uh, gotten from our sources from interview is that the HR suggests the interview. This is the particular things that you should stick to, and which are generally these. And we've also seen people only getting interviewed for these particular things, which are C++, or Java, which are essentially no, object oriented programming. Coding questions are there for computer science students. L- Coding questions number may be more than non computer science IT students, and the difficulty also for them may be more. And then there is branch specific theory, okay, which will come to detail. Then there are questions based on project and resume, and then finally basic HR questions. Okay, so the initiation of any interview or the technical interview, we've done data analysis, or from that we've come to this point that in most of the cases the interview starts with tell me about yourself, right? Then you'll be telling about yourself, and he'll just be pretending to read from your resume, or maybe actually reading from your resume. And then generally the second question that they ask you is that rate yourself in a particular thing that you've written in the resume. So if you've written C, so they'll ask you to rate yourself in C, or they'll ask you to how good are you in Java, or how good are you in C++. And based upon that, they'll ask you questions. If you say 10, then you're trying for harder questions. In that case, you're challenging the interviewer, so he may feel challenged, and he may ask you difficult questions. So from a safe perspective, if you are good, I think you should say 8. If you're not good, then you should say anywhere between 6 to 7 or 5, right? Um so now the interview has begun. So mostly generally C questions that are asked. These questions are asked from both CS and non-CS IT people. So it's not like that earlier. It is a myth that Infosys does not ask CS theory, or C++ theory, or coding questions from non-CS IT people. Now they do. The reason why is that the number of people applying are more, and the technologies are getting difficult. So and also you're applying from an IT service based company, so you should know coding, because eventually your job is to code, right? So they want to judge you on that perspective as well. So I've given a few two sample questions. These are the two most asked questions in the interview. We have a list of about 200 300 questions that are most asked Infosys interview questions from the data analysis that we've done by calling 200 different people, and that was done just last week. So you can expect a lot of those questions. So I think 50% of those questions that you will be asked in the interview would be from the set that we've given on our interview preparation dashboard on PrepInsta. So go and check out. So we'll put all that links on in the description section of this video, so you can always go to the links that I am going to talk about in this particular video and always find that information once you completely see this video. So why C is called a procedural language? You can read all of that information. So I'll tell you from an interview standpoint, C is called procedural language because it confines itself to a list of operations and functions, and there is no object oriented function or object oriented speciality given to C. This is why C++ was developed to give it object oriented features like in data encapsulation or data hiding, data abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, etc. But C as a language is a basic block of language wherein you write a lot of procedures. One procedure will call another procedure, and they will talk to one another in the basis of arguments, and eventually will give out desired output. And procedure is an alternate name for function, right? In terms of technology or in terms of C. So the second question that we take, why do we use stdio.h, or there are other examples like math.h. So the reason why stdio.h is used, the full form of it is standard input output. So the functions that you use like scanf, printf, getc and all are contained in stdio.h, and all those libraries are only imported when you use this particular header library. And the reason why header libraries are used is because there are a lot of different libraries. Some are for mathematical functions, some are for input output functions, some are for file based functions. So for any particular program, if every library is already loaded, so the compilation time will increase. But so on a need by need basis, we've gotten this functionality in C. The only libraries that we need in a particular program's execution, we only import those, so that the size of the program is also less and the compilation time is also less, right? And you can always read more information or the standard definition on the internet, but I think from an interview standpoint, you will not be giving definitions, you will be giving your understanding, which is closely definition though, right? Then there is the second section. Generally what we've seen that C questions are always asked from both CSIT and non-CSIT students, but for C++ and Java, we've seen that only if you've mentioned it in your resume that object oriented programming as well, then only the interviewer will ask you C++ and Java questions. So if you don't know it, don't put it in your resume. And so they'll generally stick to the C questions, and will ask more C questions to you rather than some C++ questions, and then they'll move ahead once they are done with C. So what is data encapsulation, right? This is one example that is very much asked. Data encapsulation is basically hiding a particular data, and you enclose all of the data in different classes by using different public specifiers like private, protected, and public. And with the help of those, you only specify a particular methods that are allowed to call or that are allowed to access or modify those values. So this allows data hiding. So only information is visible to the functions that you've given access to, right? So this is basically encapsulation. You can always read correct definition, right? As I was talking about access specifier, what are access specifiers? Access specifiers are basically used to define functions, and whenever you're defining any function or variable, you use access modifier or specifier against them. Those are of three type: private, public, and protected, right? Private members are those which can only be accessible inside the class and then cannot be accessed outside the class or scope where they are declared. Public members are those which can be accessed throughout the program. Protected members is a private class itself, but with a special feature that they can be accessed outside the class except a child class. So the member declared that protected members cannot be accessed from outside the class except a child class. So if you also study data or inheritance, you will realize, you can also have a functionality to inherit as a child class or inherit data as a child class. So if you declare as a protected member, that child class can access those protected members, but private classes child class cannot access those private members, right? And this is an example of public private protected. Here you are initializing a as a private, as a public member, and when you use object dot a in here in the video, in here, yeah, the function or the set is allowed, or the operation is allowed. But in obj.c, this is the way of calling any particular object or any particular function or variable. This is not allowed because this is protected member and outside the scope. And then again obj.c, this is also allowed, and the compiler would give error because this is a private member. However, if we create a child class, then uh, we can access it from here, right? B would be accessible using a child class variable, right? So coding questions are also there, which are asked from both CS and IT questions, IT people. As I told earlier, the number and the difficulty for coding questions for a coding branch like computer science, IT, MCA, BCA would be higher than for a non-computer science IT branch. These are the most asked Infosys questions. I don't think we have the time to solve those particular questions, and I don't think you should see any particular solution in the video. You can always uh, try that and understand that from a different resource. In this video, let's just focus upon the things that we need to know. Right, print factorial of a number, addition of two matrices, convert a decimal to octal, and accept a string as an input and return the reverse of the string as the output, right? And then coming to branch specific questions, so we'll divide this in CSIT, and then we'll cover for non CSIT people. Generally the questions that are asked by the interviewer are database management questions and software engineering and operating questions. So 80% of the time any topic is chosen, it is about out of these three. An example question would be to write an SQL query to insert in any particular table, or what is an inner join or outer join, what is BCNF form. Software development lifecycle is the most asked question, I think, in this particular section, because this is very focused in Infosys. You use many different kind of software development lifecycle, or many different type of model software development models, like waterfall, agile, and etc etc. For an example of an operating system question could be, what is deadlock. So we've provided all the questions that are asked in Infosys interview by different students on our dashboard. So not just these five questions, you can also get the answers and the questions for these on that particular dashboard, right? Branch specific question, generally what happens is that the interviewer may or may not be from your branch. So in a case wherein you are a CSIT student, he may not be a CSIT student, but he will know coding and C++ because that is taught in the training. But in the other case, however, wherein you are a triple E student, the interviewer may not be from triple E. He can be from mechanical or CSIT and so on and so forth. In that case, he can ask you branch specific questions. Generally what will he do is that he will google a particular topic, or he will first ask you a topic that which is your favorite topic, and then he'll google that, and then he'll ask you questions from that. And if he's from your branch, then yes, he will have some ideas. So a good trick that I used to use in my interview, I just as the interviewer will ask me about my branch and uh, what, tell me about yourself type of question, I will counter ask question once I'm closing my statement on tell me about yourself, that sir, which branch were you from, which college are you from. It's an interview. It's not just that he's going to ask you questions, you can also ask counter questions from him. A lot of people don't realize this. If you ask in a very polite way, it gives a very positive impression that you have confidence if you are asking questions in a very good way, right? So you can ask questions, and I suggest whenever your interviewer ends, the interviewer will mostly be asking questions. Do you have any questions from us? Always make sure that you make list of 2 or 3 questions that you got to ask about, ask from the interview. It can be about the company, it can be about other things, personal questions for him. It gives a very good impression at the very end. Right. A brand specific question could be like, what is factor of evaporation? So he'll Google, let's say you said particular topic and he Googled interview questions for this particular topic, and factor of evaporation was one. So he'll ask you this particular question. Like for this is for mechanical, for triple E, why are AC systems preferred over DC systems? So this is one example. You can find more questions on the dashboard for preparation at PrepInsta. Right. Project question, we realized that this is one of the most important part of any interview conducted in Infosys. And out of 200 student, 173 student told us that project, they talked about our project at least once. So general questions would be, tell me the details about the project. They can also ask you to make the circuit diagram of your project, mostly in case of triple E students. uh, Explain your final year projects, and questions like, what are the social benefits of your projects. Like HR questions, as we told, HR, all, let me just go back to that particular slide. Teamwork capabilities, cultural fit, flexibility, and English speaking. So the HR will grade you on these particular uh, parameters. So why you will you stay at Infosys? The first type of question asked by the interviewer are to know that how long you're going to be at Infosys. Will you be changing jobs, or will you go for an MBA, and so on and so forth. So they ask such kind of question in this way, that what are your future goals. And generally, if people who say that I want to do MBA, or I want to do MS or MTech, in that case, they might give you a B on any particular HR parameter. Right. So always, for a future goal, I think the best case, or the best answer would be, uh, to say that I want to learn new technologies, and be part of a very reputed company like Infosys. And artificial intelligence is booming. So I think, if I get a project related to artificial intelligence, or let's say data mining, I want to expand my learning in that. And even if I don't get a project at Infosys about artificial intelligence, this is something that I want to learn, so I'll do that personally. So my personal knowledge growth is the most prime importance for me, and I think it will be my future goal. So, or it can be as minute as buying my dad a car, because he's got a scooter, and I just want him to drive a car now and live a luxurious life. So it is my future goal to be able to be financially good, to be able to buy him a car, right? And second question could be, are you preparing for an MBA? And in that case, if it's a straight answer, no. Just say no, in that case, because it's a direct question to you, that will you stay at Infosys, and you are saying no. After a couple of years or 3 years, I will go ahead and do MBA, and will not also give my 100%, because side by side I'll have my MBA classes and prepare for MBA and all, right? So it's not very ethically right also, but then they ask you these questions to understand the employee longevity, and which is a parameter at Emphasis. And the second grade point that we had, flexibility. Are you willing to relocate? And so this is one of the most important questions, and very frequently asked question at any given interview. uh, this is generally asked because a lot of students refuse to relocate. And if you live in a town, say Agra, and then you're given a location at Chennai, um, so then you generally, what Infosys has seen, candidates refer to relocate, and then they turn down projects that I have some financial issues, or some other reason. So they generally ask it in the first round, or the HR round itself, and then they are looking to hire people who are willing to relocate, because you're in IT industry, you will have to relocate even if you're working at any company, because depending upon the requirement of the project or Infosys, right? How do you feel working at Infosys and night shift? So this question, if you say I don't want to work at night shift or I wouldn't work at weekends, I don't think any of us will answer this question in this particular way. But I think you can always say like night shift questions like you know I'm a night person, and my brain works more at night, and I love coffees. And night shift, I think what I've heard from my seniors or people who are working at Infosys, that people who work at night shift get paid extra, so I wouldn't mind that also. So you can answer in this way. And about working at weekends, yes, you can always say yes, I'm willing to work at weekends, in if the requirement is so don't be like a straight head and say work, yes, I can work at weekends. No one wants to work in weekends. HR also knows that. So you can be just truthful, I that given a situation wherein a critical task has to be done, I would work at weekends because I don't want my work or my the work to be delayed, or timelines becoming deadlines. So I like to keep my work up to date. So if there is any pending thing, I would complete with my own ownership on weekends, or if required by the project and the or the project manager asks me to work at weekends, I would work at weekends. And they pay you if you also work at weekends. So it's not that you'll be just asked to work on weekends and you'll not get anything in return. Then they also give you points on being a team player. General question would be to ask you, are you a team player? And give one example where you've demonstrated a team player trait inside you. And why do you think you should take this job? Why do you think we should take you for this job? you know just tell good qualities about you, that even if you're a non-CSIT student, just let them know that I have a will of learning, and I am very sincere, and if there's anything given to me, I take the full ownership of that and do it as my own, and I have a lot of dedication and hard work, and all those kind of good qualities like this. And if you're from a very good college, just also let them know that you've done your hard work, and you are working in, or you are studying in a very good college. And hard work is something that you can do. you know they also check your confidence, and they'll also ask you some stress questions like how do you expect a mechanical engineer to learn and work in a software companies? Why are you applying? So it's don't take it on you, right? The company allows you to give the interview. The interview is just stressing you out to check your confidence. And even they are recruiting a mechanical engineer, so it's not that you've done anything wrong, right? So just answer, as a mechanical engineer, you learned a lot of mechanical aspects, and maybe at a later point in time, if you are given a project for for a company like Maruti Suzuki or Audi and so on and so forth, which are part of Infosys, then somewhere you can demonstrate that. And life is about learning. You can always, the learning never stops. And even, and if I would be working in an IT company, my learning will continue and will start from scratch, and I'm very confident about getting ahead. So just show your confidence and give a abrupt answer, good answer. Yeah, there can be different variations to this one, right? So we've also done some data analysis on how much time spent on any particular thing. Like for C++ OOP questions, 40% of the time is spent for this one. Coding questions, core CS questions, and then finally a project based questions uh, are there, right? So you can find all that information on our website, about it, in the interview preparation dashboard that we have on PrepInsta for Infosys. Like the link will be put up in this video, below this video, in the comments and description section. So you know any question that you would have, just make sure that you ask those in comment section. We'll tell you, maybe with Infosys or any other companies. We are the market leaders. We are the most visited websites for placement. We are the most trusted ones. Information is always updated. 95% of the students placed in 2018 in Infosys studied from PrepInsta, and then 94% for TCS approximately. So you can always trust us. Make sure that you also subscribe to our YouTube channel, because a lot of cool videos are coming and which will be helpful for you for Infosys and many other drives or companies that will be coming through. And like this video, subscribe, share with your friends, and all you can always create a YouTube playlist and for your own reference, and add this video in that particular video YouTube playlist. So thank you. Best of luck. Do let me know if you have any questions, and hope you all get selected.